So good day everyone, I am Maria Priscilla Vasco and today I will be the first reporter that will be tackling the chapter 8 that is designing and evaluating portfolio assessment in the classroom. So, portfolio development requires learners to collect and interrogate examples of their work and allows the teacher to assess their learner as well. So this assessment tool provides that the opportunity for both learners, teachers, and better understand the educational process in a wider perspective. There is a steps for developing portfolio assessment. It is to require some advanced and careful planning. It begins with a clear idea about the purpose of the assessment. So the number one steps for developing portfolio assessment is that number one is identifying our overall purpose and focus. So it is begins with a clear description of the purpose and focus. So this step is requiring the questions: why do I want a portfolio, and what is the learning target, and the curriculum goals it will serve. So this will sharpen the focus of identifying the purpose and focus of portfolio. So this can identify why you want your students to create a portfolio. So there are steps on preparing to use a portfolio. So number one, who will construct the portfolio? So either individual students with the teacher input and help, or the individual students with input and help of cooperative learning groups, and either the cooperative-based group or the whole group work, and individual members work with teacher input and help. Next one is, what type of portfolio do you want to use? Or kung ano yung portfolio na gagamitin mo. And what are the purposes and objectives of the portfolio? So you will put three different kinds of purposes and objectives for the portfolio. The number three is, what categories of work samples should you go into the portfolio? Number four, what criteria will students or the group use to select their entries? And the last one, who will develop the rubrics to assess and evaluate the portfolios, either the faculty or the students. So based on Macmillan 2007, portfolio may be used to assess understanding but are ideal for assessing product, skills, and reasoning targets. So that is multi-dimensional skills such as writing, reading, and problem solving that are continually improved or demonstrated through the products. Students also develop metacognitive and decision-making skills. As with their performance assessments, portfolios generally are not very efficient for assessing knowledge targets. And it is important to distinguish between learning targets for individuals, individual work samples, and the content of the portfolio as whole. The target that reflects all the content tends to be broader and more general, such as development as reader, adapts writing to audience, and speaks clearly and adapts writing style to develop two different purposes. So this is the table for reading skills performance. So it has four divided parts, which is the first one is the goal, the second is the sample classroom activity. Next is the portfolio evidence, and the last one will be the assessment tool. So in the first category will be decode basic reading skills for beginning or weak readers. So the sample classroom activity would be reading sample text, and the portfolio evidence would be word bank or selected text that I can read or completed reading text. And the assessment tools for this will be individual process, report, peer complement, and checklist, and the rating skills. So in that table, you can see the different skills, reading skills performance. For the next steps will be identify the physical structure. So once the purpose and targets has been clarified, to tend to think the physical structure of the portfolio. So number one, what it will look like. Number two, where will the students place the outputs? What type of container is appropriate? Do they need folders, clear book, plastic bins? How are their materials to be organized categorically, numerically, alphabetically, or by subject area, or in different ways? And then, where can students store the portfolios for easy access? So if the students cannot manage and access there effectively, they will become discouraged. So next is determine the appropriate organization and sources content. So this will be determine the content of portfolio consists of entry which provides assessment information about the context and processes identified in the dimension to be assessed. It is naturally artifacts which are derived from the different learning activities. So this is the examples of artifacts for portfolios by subject area. So there is also 4 categories, which is the language arts, mathematics, science, and the social studies. Next is select the organizational entries of portfolio that will allow the students to meet the purpose of the portfolio. If your target is to show performance or select output oriented, if your target is to show performance product, select output oriented tasks. But if you need to provide feedback to students on the procedures they use in putting together in a report, including a summary of that process as a part of the portfolio. Next is it is also stated that in 2007 by Macmillan, which pointed out to use work samples that capitalize on the advantage of portfolios such as flexibility, individuality, and authenticity. So these categories or the type should consider the context and the process dimension. It will assess the minimum and the maximum numbers of entries per categories. So it making sure that entries should fully represent the student's attainment or growth and learning progress. This will allow variation so that student can show individual work. This is often means giving students choices and potential about what they want to include in their portfolio entries. It is best also to determine the types of work samples to be included in the portfolio at the same time that instructional activities are developed. So that would be the part of my report. The next reporter will be tackled by Mr. John Paulo Hore.